We are ready.
Hola a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Ready? Play. Ready? Play.
We're back, baby. It is talking tennis time. Welcome, everyone. And it's the WTA finals. I'm very excited to be covering this match. It's actually the first match I think I've done since that US Open final, if I remember right. And I'm very, very excited that I am with possibly one of those enthusiastic tennis fans I've ever met. It's Zach. How you doing?
Nick, it's such a pleasure to be back with you, man. It's great to see you on the stream. I can't believe I get to hang out with you for this match, which is just about to get started and should be a good one, potentially. Although I think that Sabalenka is going to roll her straight sets. That's my prediction.
That's your prediction. Sabalenka is rolling Zheng. Is that to do with the head-to-head and sort of how previous matches have gone?
I think that Sabalenka's style just matches up really well. I mean, she's in control of the match. Like if she plays well, then that's it. If she plays poorly, hey, maybe we'll go 3, maybe we'll get a good match. But Sabalenka just has a level that Zheng just does not.
Sabalenka's going to be serving first, by the way, so we'll keep an eye on the action here. But I wanted to dig into sort of what's going on. Here we go. First, serve into the box, and Sabalenka's got that on return. First point done. I don't want to ask about that prediction. So I'm going to ask you about WTA stuff instead. So talk to me. Do you think that maybe Zheng's made some kind of progress in this head-to-head based on what happened in the Wuhan final?
You know, I think it's always easier when you're playing in your home country. I think you get the fans at your back, and you know, I think that shows that the crowd really does influence the outcome of a match. I think that's really all that it shows. I think it was a bit of a fluke. What's your read?
I thought Zheng played legitimately. I don't think Sabalenka was at her best, but I thought Zheng was flying high in confidence, maybe to do with the fact that she does love playing at home and playing in front of her home fans, or with the pressure of her country on her. So yeah, for me, I think the circumstances falls in the right way where Zheng's having an amazing day and Sabalenka's off. Zheng can beat her. In fact, actually, I would say that for different reasons, it's very similar to the Swiatek Goff matchup in some ways, in that you've got two players who have very similar strengths.
Yeah.
But one is able to execute it better than the other.
Yeah.
Against each other.
That was a very, very easy first game. So, Nick, I don't know if you know this. I actually have a bit of a prediction curse. I have every single prediction that I have made on this show has been wrong. And it's like, it's not like I'm like, oh, just missed predictions. It's like comically wrong.
How many times have you been on the show, Zach?
I think this is my fourth. And I make a whole lot of predictions every episode, too, because the volume thing, I have to get one right if I keep making them. But I don't know. Maybe that's the curse.
I mean, look, it's worked for John, given he's appeared on over 300 shows, and I think he's at about 50%, maybe predictions wise. I'm not sure. I don't know if anyone's tracking that, but also, let's face it, I think we're all in a similar situation. I think it's only been recently that my choices for sort of who's going to win slams and whatnot has actually happened. Still remember the time that I predicted Simona Halep to win the 2022 US Open, which at the time didn't seem too crazy. And then Darius Sneager and Roxas just happened. So,
hey, so one thing, you know, before every episode, I can do a little bit of reading just about the players. And a thing that I didn't realize was that Zheng shared a coach with Coco Gauff, or the coach was hers initially.
Yeah,
then went to Gauff, now back to her. And I wonder what the dynamics are like in the locker room around their shared experience. And I wonder if that gives Zheng an advantage if and when she gets matched up against Gauff.
Well, that won't be at this tournament, unless they both make it through their groups, because they're in different groups to each other. I'm trying to think, when did they play recently, Gauff and Zheng?
Ozon knows. North Carolina, stand up. North Kakalaki, represent.
Yeah, I think they've definitely played. I don't know when. By the way, Zheng is also having a very nice service opener so far. It's at 40 love. So there's hopes there's going to be some competitiveness to this match.
Whew. I don't think that Sabalenka is coming out flat. It is always sunny in North Carolina, except for when it's not.
Yeah. Which part of North Carolina are you again?
So I'm in the central part of the state. So I'm in Durham, North Carolina. You know, folks know it because of the airport, Raleigh-Durham, which is ironically in Morrisville. Raleigh-Durham Airport is not in Raleigh or Durham, but Raleigh is the state capital, so right around there, right smack dab in the middle. We're 3 hours from the mountains, 2.5 hours from the beach. Yeah, I think you just saw that Sabalenka forehand, right?
Yeah,
it is firing.
Oh yeah, that's what you would hope for. I think these conditions definitely suit her. I don't know if you saw I don't know if you saw the tweet from the tennis channel, but apparently this court is on the faster side.
Okay.
So this is kind of prime Sabalenka Rybakina kind of territory.
Well, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the hire that Rybakina has made of one of my favorite, if not my favorite player of all time, Goran Ivanisevic. He, the 2001 Wimbledon champ, the greatest run, I would say, in sports history. And I think an all-around excellent coach, having a nice second career here.
Yeah, I love this pick for her. I think it's going to make Rybakina a very scary prospect if he makes that serve of hers even better.
Yeah.
In 2025, and I think it's a good pick for both of them. As Zheng's gone long on a forehand, 40-30. Why was Goran your favorite?
So I've always had a soft spot for the head cases. And
people like Andrei Rublev.
I do have a soft spot for Rublev because you can see he's trying. He says in interviews, he wants to get it together, and he just is losing the battle with himself over and over and over again. It's why I root for him. It's why at one point I rooted for Kyrgios. I don't find myself able to any longer because he seems to take pride in his lack of effort, and I just that's just not for me. But so with Goran, my dad, when I was a little kid, I have my last name is Tchaikovsky, Eastern European last name, difficult to pronounce for some folks here. And so he always, kind of rooted for the Eastern European players and would have me pronounce Goran Ivanisevic when I was a little kid.
Okay. So how'd you pronounce your last name again?
Tchaikovsky. We sort of Americanized it to make it a little easier for folks.
Tchaikovsky. Okay. No, I was just curious because there is a Polish player up and coming with a very similar name on the WTA tour.
Oh,
Yeah. Hang on, let me get it up. It's she got to the quarterfinals in Merida, and lost to Renata Zarazua. It was
Well, it's also why I love Iga, of course. You know, as a Polish American.
Oh yeah,
you got to root for Iga. Yeah, greatest living
yeah.
Pole. Many people are saying.
Well, I think that's possibly up. She's possibly up there. I know she's kind of up with that sort of status that Lewandowski has in Poland.
Yeah, he's certainly up there. He's the tail end of his career. I also think the heights that Iga can reach, truly, remarkable stuff.
Yeah, it's by the way, the player I'm thinking of, it's not actually the same surname. It's Maya Kwalinska, Chwalin-Ska.
Poland's cranking out some pretty good players, on both sides.
Yeah, really is. Yeah, I think she's 23, so later developer.
Yep.
But certainly a player that I've seen Polish tennis Twitter, because obviously with my allegiance, I've kind of ended up being included in there, and so I've seen her name pop up a few times with sort of mutual Iga fans. Although apparently. Although we do need to make sure that, as the live chat is saying, that Damien Kus needs to be included in list of great Poles.
Absolutely.
Zheng Qinwen having a nightmare trying to get out of this game at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, she, her serve looks okay. Ultimately, on the scoreboard, shows that she got it, but not as seamless as Sabalenka's first, certainly.
No, it was looking seamless, and then Sabalenka stepped it up. And again, this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, that Sabalenka just does the big hitting game better than Zheng. And in fact, actually, I think the only person who could play the Sabalenka style game in terms of like the power is Rybakina. And even then, Rybakina does it very differently. Like, she's more about big power and precise locations, whereas Sabalenka, she might not necessarily try and hit absolute winners, but she will try and overwhelm opponents.
Yeah, I mean, she's got the hardest average forehand speed in the world. That's pretty tough to compete with.
Oh, it really is. Yeah, very few people can. I'm always impressed with those who can. I think Iga can on pretty much 90% of tennis courts. Rybakina, we know, can. I think there's a few others out there. I think Coco's shown that she can absorb and deal with it in her own way and manage to diffuse it. That's how she won the US Open.
Did you see Coco's Halloween costume?
Oh, Deadpool. Yeah,
fantastic.
Brilliant.
It was so good.
Yeah. I love Coco's nerdy side.
Yeah. Iga also, there's a bit of a nerd moment happening on the tour, because Iga really leans in, I think, sometimes to the nerdy side of things. Sabalenka looking very strong here in her second service game as well.
Yeah, I think Iga's more of a book nerd.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, obviously she does the whole like read with me with her fans and type thing.
Yeah.
So she's more into like, books and films and storytelling. I think obviously she probably does like some of like the fancy superhero stuff that we used to associate with nerd culture. As someone who's very deep into it, my Twitter feed is just a weird mix of interesting things.
Oh yeah. Ozan gets me, by the way, with the fantastic and important question: which one of Aryna or Qinwen would you pick for a log chopping competition? Absolute layup. Sabalenka by a mile. No doubt in my mind, could she chop some wood?
How does a log chopping competition work?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because there's a lot of different events within a log chopping competition. You've got the one where you're chopping down with the log between your legs. You've got log splitting. You've got chopping down the tree. So the event would matter. I could see. I think Sabalenka would be better at the single axe. Perhaps Qinwen would be better at the pull saw or push saw.
Okay.
The stuff you learn about American culture, right?
Different thing. This is not a thing that happens in the UK.
We have lumberjacking competitions in the States. They're every now and then, like late at night on ESPN2 for viewing. You can see some videos on YouTube. You get about everything you need from a 3-minute YouTube highlight. That anything more than that, it's a little weird.
I think I get the sense that like I can see it being very popular in North America, so US, Canada.
Yep.
Unfortunately, whenever you say lumberjack, as a Brit, my mind immediately goes to the Monty Python sketch.
You know, I'm not familiar. I enjoy
you're
Monty
not?
Python, but I
Okay.
don't think I've seen this. No.
It's a very hard sketch to explain. Oh, yeah, we've lost John, so I'll have to get my screen share ready to take over because John's about to get on
while we're getting that up, there's a break point for Zheng. Just the curse is going to continue. Probably going to be the upset.
Don't rule Aryna out from getting this. I'm going to have to move my screens around. Hold on.
She's fended off one break point here.
Yeah,
Ozon cracks me up in the comments. Nuanced answer as per usual. What could I say? I'm very American in that way. Never had a loosely held opinion in my life.
Nuanced American is not something I would automatically put together. Anyway, just good. I think the best thing is that Monty Python lumberjack sketch. It is very odd. Lumberjack song. Yes, it's a song about an incredibly masculine lumberjack who, as the song progresses, starts revealing information about increasingly personal information about themselves.
Oh, I'll have to give it a listen after the episode.
Yeah, I don't know if you can listen to it. It's definitely on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I mentioned Monty Python, it's not something that all Americans necessarily know.
So I'm a fan of Faulty Towers, and I'm familiar with some Monty Python. So while I was born in the States, my dad was born in the UK, and then we still have some family over there. So every now and then I get a little bit of the culture. Big Downton Abbey guy.
Okay. Yeah. That was a big part of my sort of formative years when that was on. It was on when I was a teenager. So family loved it. So yeah, that's a big thing. Although I think Americans loved it even more. Sabalenka's got herself to game point here, by the way.
Zheng is kind of spraying it a little bit. Some not particularly close misses, and I think that's normal against Sabalenka, who just hits it so hard. But there were some pretty sloppy shots.
I think it's also normal for Zheng.
Yeah.
Because I did notice this, like when Zheng was kind of making her way through Tokyo, when she was making her way to the Wuhan final, semi-finals in Beijing. She does make a lot of errors anyway.
Yeah.
It's a very high risk, high reward game.
Yeah.
As encapsulated by her serve, Sabalenka's got that game, by the way, with another sort of sprayed backhand from Zheng, and they're going to have their first sit down of the match. But when you think about Zheng's serve, and a lot of comments are often made about her service technique, but despite what some consider to be a flawed technique, she is the ace leader on tour.
Right. One of the things that some of my tennis buds and I like to talk about is which player, if you saw them in the airport as a non-tennis fan, didn't know who they are, would you be the most likely to say that is a professional athlete? And Sabalenka for me is number one on the list.
She could play anything, right?
Yeah. Like what sport could she not at least be a competitive player in?
I mean,
marathon running, maybe. I don't know, but even that, you probably could.
Because you need to be a much thinner build.
Yeah.
But not thinner, you know what I mean? Like leaner, because all the muscles in your leg.
Hashtag Team Garbage wants to know, what are Zheng and Sabalenka playing on? It's a hard court, and it is a fast one.
Yes. I think we could see that from just watching this match, right?
Yeah. Ozon has a good question for you, Nick. What aspects of Zheng's game need improvement for her to win a slam?
I don't like answering these kind of questions for multiple reasons. One, I am not an expert. I struggle enough with my own game anyway. And I have no idea what I need to do to improve mine. So me trying to work out how someone else should improve theirs is massively hypocritical. Second, and also, even if I did know, I still couldn't perform at the level that Zheng can. So there's that. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I think Zheng also is very highly successful in terms of like what she needs to win a slam. She needs to find a way. I mean, like we've talked about some of the flaws in her game, and I don't think technique-wise she needs to change anything. I'm a big proponent of a player's technique is a player's technique, and if it works, it works. You just have to have confidence in making it work. So she just needs to be confident in her game, and I think she'll win a slam on the day that maybe when she takes risks, it all comes together. So yeah, that's my point of view in it. I don't know if that's something you want to comment on, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like to see just a touch more net play from her. I think that, just adding that additional diversity to the game, I think, especially with her having such a strong serve, it could help her just get that last little bit.
Yeah. Although having said that, that was a sweet forehand she just struck for a winner there.
There we go. I also that's my answer to everybody. I think that we are seeing players more and more. When they get to the net, they have high win percentage. I believe that players on both sides, both tours, would benefit from getting in just a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, we are seeing that a lot more. I guess it depends.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, though, is that what we're noticing increasingly in the game of tennis is that it's the return of serve that is now the big shot that you have to get right and sets you up for so much. And yeah, your net play is important, but actually, I don't think it's serve volley. It would have to be crush and rush, right, to be effective. Because if you want to come into net, if your opponent's got an insane return, as we've just seen from Sabalenka with the backhand, like that's just going to come sailing past you every single time. So it's one of those things that you need to know what kind of return you get from your opponent before you decide to come into net. So I think net play becomes much more of a nuanced sort of tactical play than a sort of something you deploy when needed rather than as a default.
Back in the day, we used to see a lot more chip and charge, and for players with a wingspan like Sabalenka, for just the unbelievable reflexes of an Alcaraz, those top players. I believe that's a strategy. If it's a well placed chip that continue to ride. I think tennis is a pendulum, right? We're not back in the serve and volley era, and maybe we never will be. But I think we will continue to see that develop and see more of that over the next couple of years. I look at a player like Giovanni Mapesci-Pericard, and it's like a return to the serve bot era in a way that and I like that difference, that those multiple styles.
I guess did we ever really have that in the women's tennis era? Because I can't think of many women's tennis, like it was serve volley was not really associated with the women's game, at least not from talking to people who kind of grew up watching it during the 70s and 80s.
So go back to the Navratilova matches, and she one of the most successful of all time. And so it's a small list, but it certainly has been an effective strategy in the past.
Yeah, no, I was going to say Navratilova definitely did it, but she was treated as unusual, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think of this comment from hashtag Team Garbage, by the way, about Sabalenka's posture? Because that's an interesting comment, given how much work we know she's done with a biomechanics engineer to actually improve her service motion. And so she would be thinking a lot about her posture and how she's holding herself in that process. I think it's more of a deliberate choice than you would imagine, and it seems to work for her.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I want when you're talking about posture, is that between points? Are we talking about purely during the points? Because she definitely hangs her head a little bit, lets her shoulders slump. I think for that's more of a mental thing than a physical.
Yeah,
what's your read? Nick?
A lot of players do it. A lot of players do it as well.
Yeah,
this is where I would want to get an actual physiotherapist, of which I know a lot, weirdly, but that's beside the point. Sabalenka's gone long, 15 all. Maybe not finding this match as easy as she would like. I mean, for a lot of our preview shows that we've done for the WTA finals, Sabalenka's come out as is most of the team's favorite. At least you've said something like John, Damien, myself, Vanch have all kind of said she's the most likely player in the field to win. But we're not calling her the overwhelming favorite. Certainly, if it was is it Sabalenka or everyone else? I think it's 45-55 in favor of everyone else.
If we're betting,
that you would go for.
If we're betting on this surface and the choices are Sabalenka versus the field, I think I probably take Sabalenka. I don't know that I'd feel confident in that, but y'all know my prediction record.
Yeah, although having said that, you'd be right to pick Sabalenka after seeing a forehand like that for the win. That was incredible.
Yes, indeed.
She comes in, spins it cross court, no hope of anyone catching that. that was just wonderful on the run cross court forehand.
Oh yeah. While we've got a change over here in the chat, would love to see any questions that y'all have. You know, give us some theories. What's on folks' minds so far through 5 games?
There is one player I think is able to challenge Sabalenka on this. Definitely able to challenge Sabalenka on this speed of service, and that is Rybakina. Now, Rybakina's not played since the US Open.
Right.
She's her job work with Koreni Fedicevic will not begin until after this event, until the off season. So he's not here. They're not started working together yet. So there's a lot of unknowns in terms of how she is going into this event.
Right.
So that's why it makes it a lot of difficult to kind of get firmly behind her. But if you look at raw potential,
yeah,
I think that next match for Sabalenka, or maybe the third match, depending on how Rybakina does, that's going to be the one that worries her the most.
Her coaching situation and the discourse around that, I'm sure, has been weighing on her for months, if not years. And just putting that behind her, I think that's going to give her a boost. Now, she might very well be a little bit rusty because you're right, she hasn't played since the U.S. Open, so I don't know that we're going to see her A game. But hey, we very well might, and I totally agree. She can give anyone a run for their money on this surface.
Actually, my feed's just showing me Elena Rybakina arriving and coming through a metal detector with her tennis kit. Yeah, she's in the building. She's going to be playing Jasmine Paolini immediately following this match. This is a. I think, if she can put this behind her, I think that will be a weight off her shoulders. And I'd love to see Rybakina without a weight on her shoulders and see what she could do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anyone else who can challenge. Iga, maybe, if Iga plays one of her very, very best. I would never rule her out challenging Sabalenka on a fast court. We saw her beating Sabalenka on a fast court at the US Open a couple of years ago.
Right.
Coco Gauff, same thing, has beaten Sabalenka at the US Open. But if you're going to compare this court speed to something like Australia, then Rybakina is the only one who's been shown to challenge Sabalenka. On the other hand, also, we've seen Sabalenka has actually lost to Krejcikova on a super slick surface, and that was in Dubai in 2023.
Couple questions, Nick, and I know you love this one. Do you think if Perricard improves his backhand, he'd be a slam contender?
I'm going to be honest with you. I've never watched a Giovanni Mpeci Perricard match.
Okay. He's very tall, and he serves it very hard. I think on grass, I don't even know that he needs to improve his backhand to be a contender on grass. On all the other surfaces, yeah, he's never going to win a French Open, or very, very unlikely to win a French Open or go particularly far. I could see it in Australia or the US Open if he touches up that backhand a little bit. But also, you look at the track record of the sort of the serve bot types, the Isners, the Opelkas, the Ljubicics, and there's not that many of them that have been able to break through in this millennia.
No, and again, it's coming down to the way you win the game has changed. We talked about that just earlier,
right?
Like the quality of returners that are out there. Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
Holy moly, are you going to see an aggressive forehand?
I'm interested to see from who as well, because I've got to see it. It's 30-15, second serve for Zheng. That's what I'm seeing. I'm looking forward to seeing what this is. But going back to that, I think, I'm interested to see how Mpeci Perricard matches up against your Alcarazes and your Sinners. Oh, that's the forehand. Yeah, great.
You knew right away.
That's a Sabalenka special on the return forehand.
Oh, yeah. Just pure aggression. Another question in the chat is do we think that Goran is going to improve Elena's volley and general touch of the net? As Nick pointed out, serve and volley is not a huge part of the WTA game at the moment. It would be really interesting to see him try and have her get in a little more. I could see that working. She's got good reach, good range. I think she actually does have pretty good hands, pretty precise. If she touches up her volley game a little bit, both for the chip and charge on grass and for the serve and volley and across surfaces, I think it can make a difference.
Yeah, because I've never thought of Elena's volley as being a particular weakness of hers.
Yeah. That's the best thing to do, though, take a strength and make it stronger.
Which is what she's going to do with the serve.
Yeah. And maybe the volley.
I'm very interested to see what Win for Set does with Swiatek. Like what he's going to work on with her.
Yeah.
And,
What's your guess?
I mean, look, Swiatek's game is overanalyzed, like way too overanalyzed. Like people point out the second serve, I don't think it's that much of a problem for her. People point out that maybe the return's less effective. I don't think that's true.
Here, really, sorry to jump in, Nick. Big moment here with a break point for Sabalenka and a second serve.
Yeah, I've just seen Zheng balloon the forehand. This is the problem with the coverage I've got, is that, yeah, I'm always way behind everyone else. Probably because I'm too cheap to pay out for the best stuff.
Hey, if we get you to Durham, North Carolina for a visit, we'll get on the courts. We'll get you in that Google Fiber. Fast coverage.
Apparently, UK internet in general is actually better. I think it's just more the provider of the coverage that's the problem for me. I'm just seeing the second serve. Oh, Sabalenka overplayed the return. She was trying to go for the same shot that got her the point earlier, and that one was just overlooped and out.
Major missed opportunity, indeed.
But yeah, the reason I asked you about North Carolina is actually I've got a really good friend of mine who actually spent a semester in North Carolina.
Cool. Which university?
Appalachian State.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great. I mean, great school. So several of my good friends went there. They're going through a really hard time right now. We just had, terrible flooding in the mountains. We're also seeing Spain had some really rough flooding as well. And so, if you find yourself with the opportunity to travel to either place, once they've gotten things together, they could really use the money that comes with tourism. So good chance to do something good. Go to Valencia, go to Boone, where App State's at.
Boone, yeah, I'm aware. Yeah, I've had lots of good stories about Boone. Great hikes up there. Yeah, all the international students who were like studying over there kind of really bonded.
That's a school known for, and I'm going to try and say this in a way that's not going to get me in trouble on the YouTube channel. A lot of students there enjoy the hippie tobacco.
That wasn't mentioned so much, or at least not in conversations I can repeat on here. But,
yes.
Certainly that's not something that this particular friend of mine got into. But certainly
there is a ski resort in Boone. It's called Grandfather Mountain. I believe it's temporarily closed, but is hoping to reopen like much of the stuff in Western North Carolina. One thing that's been tough. Oh, here we go.
Double fault from Zheng.
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah, it's not going her way at the minute, and now Sabalenka's got another opportunity. Zheng had a slight opportunity to break before. Sabalenka closed the door. Sabalenka closed the door on herself on the previous break point. Is she gonna get this? Take the opportunity here? It's about half an hour into the match at this point. Zheng serves wide. Second serve probably already been seen, but this is reporting as we're going to see it. Sabalenka is getting ready to take on this second serve. How's she going to handle this one? She's going to go for the backhand up the line to the Zheng forehand, who puts it in the net. Sabalenka breaks. She's got the advantage in the match. Game on, 4-2.
Nick, I marvel at your calls. They get me. I watched it 12 seconds before you, and I got worked up a second time with the call. It is a thing of beauty.
I really wish that I was much more up to speed, because then actually my calls would be epic and not irritating for everyone who's already seen what happened.
I think it's not irritating at all for me. It's like reliving it a second time. It's like you get to enjoy it twice. And as somebody rooting for Sabalenka, rooting for the love of goodness to get a prediction right once, I needed that. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's nice to say. I get mixed reviews on it. It's more along the lines of they like it when it happens, but don't find it necessary. Give it a go. But yeah, 15 love Sabalenka now, pulling ahead a little bit. Let's see how this goes. But so far, seems to be moving along how you thought this would go, Zach, and sort of straightforward for Sabalenka.
Yeah.
And certainly, I couldn't, on paper anyway, given the head-to-head, there aren't many other matchups on this this event that Sabalenka that would have been as good for Sabalenka as an opening match.
Right. Speaking of the matchups, are there any other that you either are excited to see or hoping to see in particular?
What in terms of from the event or?
Yeah. Whether currently scheduled or just the draw would need to break the right way. What match would you most like to see?
Okay. I will probably be at work when this happens, but I really want to see Sabalenka Rybakina because that's always such a good match.
You got any sick days?
Anyway, I am actually sick, which helps. But
yeah, sick if you don't get to watch the Rybakina Sabalenka match.
But we'll figure it out. If not, I'll just have to sort of pop back and make sure I can catch a replay or something. So that would be cool. I think Coco Jess could be interesting. I don't know which way that one's actually going to go.
Some of Zheng's misses, by the way, have been. I know that's part of her game, but at 30-15, the miss there was like atrocious. Not much better at 40-15 either.
I mean, there's a part of me that kind of wants that end of season blockbuster between Sabalenka and Świątek.
Yeah.
But I would hope that, like the end of the Cincinnati match was actually really competitive. So I'm hoping more like that rather than what happened in the Cincinnati match up to that point.
Yeah. Would you consider Świątek, Sabalenka, and Rybakina the big three of the WTA?
They're in the top three, certainly. Yeah, they are the top three. I mean, I'm Coco. I think was in there with them as well. She's fallen away a little bit this year, but I could see her launching herself back up into that group soon. Yeah, I think on the whole, though, it is those three. Given how hard it is to beat them, how rarely they lose compared to everyone else.
Yeah,
I guess Goff would be up there in that sense as well, or was before kind of her mid-season hit. Yeah, I think they are up there in terms of not necessarily. I'm not going to say that their peak is much better than everyone else. The majority of players maybe, but not like that much of a majority.
Yeah,
but it's how hard they are to beat.
Right.
That's kind of the key difference here.
There's a consistency there. I will say though, I think the three of them just have a little bit more of a gear than almost every other player. There's a few exceptions, but can't really think of hardly anybody outside the top 6 or 7 that can actually beat any of the three of them when they're playing their A game.
Yeah, there's not many. You're right. Like I think, when they're playing their A game.
I mean, maybe Goff. Goff is so scrappy. Goff just knows how to get wins. And people, speaking of people whose games are overanalyzed, Goff is amongst the most overanalyzed, overscrutinized.
Yes.
People forget how young she is and how long of a career she has ahead of her if she wants it. I'm biased because I'm an American, but I'm such a fan of hers, and I wish people would just shut up and watch her play and enjoy it a little bit more.
That's exactly my perspective because I agree. Like so many people go on about, oh, Goff's forehand isn't great. And I'm like, Goff's forehand's actually pretty good when she hits through it and when she's confident with it.
Right.
Like we saw that in Beijing. She was really going for it. It's like the US Open when she won it. Cincinnati when she won it. Really hitting through it, really going for it. It works. It's not a bad shot.
She double faults too much. Yeah. So look, all the top players do.
Yeah.
They had those days. Everyone has those days. Be real, people. Get realistic.
Sabalenka used to.
Yes.
Iga does sometimes.
Rybakina sometimes.
Yeah. So, Goff, I think what I really admire about Goff is I think the problem people have with her is she doesn't have the biggest game. She is not the kind of player who will overwhelm an opponent like Sabalenka can.
Right.
What she does have is an ability to grit out wins, an insane winning mentality.
Yes.
And to just wear opponents down and frustrate them and open up and seize opportunities when they're presented to her. If you're in a scrap with Coco Gauff, you've got to really dig deep to get through against her as a general rule.
Dare I
So-
say there's a little bit of light sexism involved there because, we laud some of the men's players for their mental toughness. Nadal in particular, he's such a competitor, he's relentless, and we just don't give the same credit to women's players that are able to have that elite mentality. And I think Goff is absolutely one of them. And I find all the discourse around her incredibly frustrating.
I think we tend to give it to the women's players when we see them winning a lot. Like Serena was credited for that mentality. I will say that.
Yeah. Not in the American press, I will tell you. There's Serena.
Okay.
Oh my
British
goodness,
press,
the American
yes.
press. Yeah. That's so interesting. The discourse across the pond can be a little different.
Well,
Serena, she was pillory. The American press hated Serena. They were,
what the
so
American
nasty.
Problems in quotes with Serena?
Oh, it was like Serena doesn't play the right way. She's not a good sports person. Just nonsense. Like the way that I feel about the coverage of Serena in the States, I cannot use the words that accurately encapsulate how much I hated it.
Okay.
They were really, really hostile to Serena and Venus, especially early in their careers, especially.
I suppose it's interesting because, like, when I'm looking at how people talk about tennis players, I look at people who know what they're talking about, and I don't really pay much attention to the general press and how they present players.
Yeah.
So that might be why. So I'd say in the UK, Serena wasn't necessarily universally loved. She was respected, but I think there's still this sort of idea of what a tennis player is like in terms of being. It's very much a gentleman's or ladies' sport,
Right.
And Serena was very brash and in your face, at times, and so that didn't fit with that image. And I suspect that was where the UK press kind of came from a little bit.
Yeah.
But in terms of some of the stuff, that was the only aspect that it really shared with the American press, I think.
Sabalenka did something that I haven't seen very often. She's standing on her racket, jumping on the strings a little bit to test, I guess, the tension or hear the sound that it's make to better understand the tension. I can't even imagine what data points she's getting out of that. That's a level of tennis knowledge that's so far beyond anything I can imagine.
I guess it's kind of like, maybe it's something like, hey, I know if it gives this much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now on the replay, actually. That's interesting.
It's like tuning, a musician tuning a guitar or a piano, where these tiny differences in sound to them mean the world, and to us, we could never even hear it.
As someone who's a regular player, actually, I might be able to ask you this. So this is something I have explained to it once. It was a long time ago, and I can't fully remember the explanation for it. Maybe I'll ask you after the set, as Sabalenka's at 40 love, and so I'll ask you that question after the set.
You'll be asking very soon.
Yeah, probably. But I do want to make sure we're kind of up to speed with scores wise, or at least I catch up with the rest of the world on it anyway. 40 love, 5-3, Sabalenka, set points. How does she win this? With an on-return serve, it's way long from Zheng on the backhand. And there we go, 6-3, first set, simple enough, one break. A little bit of a wobble early on, but Sabalenka will be very happy with that performance. Going back to stringing. So stringing tension is measured in weight. Was it the weight of? So it's like you string your string to a certain amount of pounds. What does that mean?
That's a great question. So I don't know the answer to that. I do know what I like my strings at. No. So I'd love to hear what you string your racket at. For me, I do a blend of soft polys and synthetic gut. I used to do the full gut, but I found synthetic is a close enough replication, and it's just it's cheaper. It's so much cheaper than the natural gut. And I like it strung at 54 and 48 with my Prince Phantom P 97P. What's your string setup?
So it's synthetic. I believe. I basically used to just get my coach to string it for me because he was a stringer as well. So I never really found out what he used. It was more of a, here, can you string my racket for me? So I actually haven't restrung it in a very, very long time. We're talking over a decade, I think.
Oh man, you gotta get that touched up.
I don't play often enough.
Yeah.
I go through phase of not playing for weeks, and I'll play once or twice a week and then not play for weeks. So it's probably all right. I don't know. But yeah, £60 is the string tension.
That's on the heavy side. I think I would really recommend talking to your coach or stringer about going to a looser tension.
Oh, I don't have a coach. I don't have a coach anymore.
Okay. Well,
he lives 200 miles away.
Then you know what? Let Coach Zach tell you. Go with a lower string tension. If you have not had arm troubles and it's pretty robust, I would really recommend trying polys. You will get so much free spin out of it. I unfortunately cannot play with polys anymore. I had shoulder issues for a couple of years.
I reckon it must be poly given the feel of it. But yeah, it's one of the things. I have literally no idea what my racket is or what it's made of. I just know it works for the most part. I mean, in terms of like how I tend to play, I have a very fast swing, so I need something that's. I have a fast swing, and so I've been coached to hit with as much spin as possible, especially on the forehand.
Oh man, we've got to get you polys at a lower tension. Listen, Coach John Silk, who's claiming to be your coach, please weigh in on this. Can we get this man a lower tension of polys?
I mean, is that going to help? Is that
yes?
I would have thought lower tension would mean springier racket, which is not what I want.
I'm telling. So because you get so much free spin out of it, you can string it lower, and that's why a lot of the pro players have made the switch to poly. Again, you know, if their arms can handle it, and with them, they all have physios and they spend a bunch of money to make things work, and so they can get away with it. Club players like me, less so. It will change your game. Well, it won't change your game. It will enhance everything I know about your game in a way that you will start beating guys that you're currently in close matches with, and guys that you can't beat, you're going to start beating. I am such an evangelist for poly if your arm can take it.
What's your world tennis number?
I think it's a 21. It's not very high. My UTR is a 7.5.
Okay, I don't know what my UTR is. I know my world tennis number is a 33 or 34.
Well, you'll be a 17 if you switch this off. If you switch to polys,
I'm getting creamed love and won by guys who are like your level.
I think. I would so I have a system every year that I'm gonna pitch, and we're second set underway, but I want to pitch this system. So in the States, the spring season is our big league season, and that's the one that everybody's trying to prepare for. Summer, they typically do singles, which is insane because it's really, really hot where I live. Fall, they do combo where you have players from different levels playing together, and then the winter is typically off. So starting in January every year, whatever strings I'm using on January 1st, I use until the end of the spring season. Same for racket. I don't make any equipment changes until the end of the spring season. Once the summer comes around, I start to experiment with different strings. Once the fall comes around, I start to experiment with different tensions. And then in the winter, I make those kind of final tweaks, and I consider, what do I want to look at a different racket? I'm really happy with my Phantom, so I'm not making any changes anytime soon. But every year I'm reevaluating what strings are the right fit for me, what's the right tension for those strings, and also like how do I balance that with price point, because Natural Gut, fantastic strings, but it's $50 to get for just the strings, and that's outrageous and not really reasonable. So I'd really, really recommend experimenting with it for you, but also for all these other players, because there's small differences, but the difference between 0-1 and 1-2 is a small difference. The difference between losing in 3 versus winning in 3, it's a small difference. And also it's just kind of a fun thing. If you enjoy tennis gear and tennis strings, it's just a little bit of fun.
I'll certainly think about lowering the tension if I can get away with it. Because at the minute when I'm making errors, the ball's sailing over the baseline. That tends to be the most common error. So I'm very good at gathering all the data points, just not sure how to fix it.
Well, so the additional spin that come with the switch to polys would have those balls dropping in.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want a bigger spin anyway.
Yeah. Nadal polys.
Sorry?
Nadal was I believe it plays with polys.
I wonder what Iga uses. She must use
question.
She's got insane spin on that forehand.
Keep flowing. I'm going to look it up right now.
Okay. So Sabalenka is serving now. Zheng held to 15. Bit more of a confident service hold. I'm interested to see how competitive she can make the set. I mean, to me at the minute, this match is playing very similarly to how their AO final went. It's certainly not a beat down in the same way as the US Open match was. The Wuhan final was a little bit more competitive. But certainly I remember from Australia, Sabalenka was winning and like she had a margin over Zheng, but it wasn't a big one. There was only like a break a set in both sets, I think. And you know, when Sabalenka's level drops, Zheng can get in there. So that's what we've got to watch for here in this match what's Sabalenka's level going to be? If she can maintain a high standard, she's going to keep Zheng at bay. That's a great return from Zheng, though. Fantastic return that ends up with Sabalenka buzzing the forehand into the net.
I don't know if this will sell you, but Iga plays with polys. It's the it's Technifiber. What is this called? It's Technifiber Razor Code tennis strings, specifically in a white 17 gauge.
Okay. We're going to go polys. Polys it is. I will get polys strung in sort of the low 50s.
Especially if you play with a Babolat racket with the poly setup, I found that has led to arm issues.
Oh, I'm also a Prince.
Okay. Yeah, Prince guy. There we go. Prince is where it's at.
I'm also a Prince. So it's an old Prince racket. I mean, I've had it since 2012.
Yeah. The new tech, I mean, look, I am such a fan of the Phantom. It's a thin beamed racket. It's known much more for precision than power. So for me, I'm a bigger guy. Like generating power has never held me back on a tennis court. Missing shots that I shouldn't absolutely has. So I've optimized with the more precision based racket with the 97P, and really, and it's also got great arm comfort. You know, terrible marketing team over there at Prince, but great rackets.
I didn't think that Prince still made rackets.
So they went bankrupt, and now in they came out with a new Phantom line this summer, I believe. They do not make the head frame size, the 97 that I prefer to play with. They do have Prince 100. Sabalenka with a big serve up the middle there at 35.
Oh, yeah. That's not surprising at all. Which is, although having said that, that's a let, so that was kind of fixing that. Here we go. This is my racket. It's a Prince 03 Speedport black.
Huh. Folks in the chat, if you're players, let us know what rackets you use. Let us know if you have any questions. Let us know if you have any ideas for Nick and I. You know, we're club players. We're out here doing our best, just like you.
I'm not even in the club.
Sorry, club players in the States is a metaphor for not very good.
Okay.
Yeah. I am also not a member of a club. I'm a big public court guy.
Okay, so we're the same, basically. Oh, yeah. Fantastic forehand from Sabalenka from the mid-court to seal that game. We are actually watching tennis, by the way. It's just there's not a lot to kind of mention here at the minute. And also, you know, I kind of, you know, I like talking about tennis in any form. So
yeah.
And obviously, Zach, you are a big sort of advocate for playing club tennis.
Absolutely. Zheng here looked super annoyed as folks were finding their seats between games. And one of the things that I believe that tennis should start phasing in or phasing out, depending how you want to look at it, is the no noise concept. There should be tournaments where they should let fans be as loud as they want to be from the start of the match to the end of the match to the in between. And I know that some of the players are going to absolutely hate it, and some will adjust better than others. But that's how sports work. You know, you have to adjust to the environment. I also think it's a better fan experience, and it'll be, you know, there'll be a learning curve. It'll make people uncomfortable for a little bit, and they'll get used to it. Some tournaments allow a little bit more noise than others. I tend to think that those are more fun as a spectator, both in person and as a viewer on TV.
All right, we're going. Zheng is still trying to make this as competitive as possible. I mean, at the minute, Zheng is serving well enough. If she can get a first serve in, she can make this a tiebreak. That's kind of how
she could. It's going to be. I think that's exactly right. It's going to be really tough for her to get the break. Not saying that she can't do it, but Sabalenka is serving well, playing well. I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't bank. Like that's the thing. You can't really. Every player's level drops at some point in the match.
Right.
The question is whether Sabalenka's level will drop enough for her opponent to kind of take advantage.
Right.
Because you've got to take advantage of it as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sabalenka's level drops, but it's a whole other thing to suggest she's going to get broken as a result.
The hitch in Zheng's serve always throws me for a little bit of a loop. And you know, I think Nick, you're exactly right. Most of these players, whatever they're doing technique wise, it works for them. So I don't know that she needs to change it, but aesthetically, I wish that she would. I just every time there's that little hitch. It's working though. It's working. Minus that one game.
It does work. I mean, like she's the ace leader on the WTA tour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I guess that's a coaching sort of priorities question, right? It's what's the best thing to do? If you can clean up somebody's strongest weapon, which is the best on the tour, does that help them get to the next level more than cleaning up a weakness, like say the backhand?
Yeah.
You know, for me,
or covering the weakness.
Or covering the weakness. Yeah. You know, is the answer more offensive coaching, take the strength to make it stronger, defensive coaching, improve the weakness, or a little stamina, a little speed, mix up both?
Yeah.
Do we think that Qinwen is somewhat intimidated by Aryna's pressure? I think everybody is intimidated by Aryna's pressure at this point. Even Iga, you can see, sometimes feels that.
I think Iga always feels it whenever they play.
Yeah.
But she deals with it a lot better than others.
Yeah. I mean, Sabalenka she just mashes the ball. You know, there's no preparing for that fully because she is a singular power player on the WTA.
Here's a fun question. I think I put this on Twitter a long while back, but
yeah,
which combination of 1 and 2 on the men's and women's tour at the minute? So you've got Sinner, Alcaraz, and Swiatek, Sabalenka. Sabalenka, Swiatek now because it's switched. Which combination do you think would make a most interesting mixed doubles match?
Oh, that's a great question. Wow.
Like, would it be Carlos Iga against Yannick Aryna, or would it be Aryna Carlos against Iga Yannick?
I think I would like to see Iga and Carlos versus Aryna and Yannick, and I'd like it to be a battle of heights. You know what? I'd like the shorter ones to win, the normal height ones to win.
Okay, yeah, just to
who you got? Was there a combo that really spoke to you?
I think a lot of people would want to see Iga and Carlos playing together. I think they're not least Damien Vance, who of course hosted the Iga and Carlos
we can surmise who they would like to see. Absolutely.
And I think that would definitely be a combination that would work really, really well. I guess it's kind of but I also think the Aryna Carlos against Iga Yannick, you've got a much more balanced team in both senses. And that like you've got a sort of a player with sort of obvious strengths, obvious kind of strengths, playing like in terms of like their weaponry, and that kind of all around this, partnered with someone who's maybe got a little bit something different and a lot more speed.
Yeah.
It would just be sort of the same but swapped. So I would be interested in seeing that one, and just in terms of I genuinely couldn't call which way that one would go.
Yeah. If I was an eccentric billionaire or in control of a sovereign wealth fund, you can bet that I would pay an obscene amount of prize money to make that happen. Like the Big Six tournament, like the Six Kings tournament. Hey, did you catch any of that? And what did you think, if so?
No, I didn't watch it. I gather it's in the same location as this was.
Yes. The camera angles were horrendous. The viewer experience was really, really subpar. And for the amount of money they spent, I would have thought they would have figured that out. I assume they'll continue to do it. Sinner gave the most disingenuous nonsense answer. Oh, I don't play tennis for money. It's like, buddy, it's a non-ranking point tournament with the highest payout. Yeah, like it's okay. I do all kinds of things for money. So does every other person in the world, right? And Carlos was like, well, the money was a factor.
Yeah. Carlos is honest. By the way, are you a lefty or a righty, Zach?
I'm a righty. I see Ozone saying that he wants to see us on the court. I'd love to get on the courts to you if I'm ever in the UK in the next couple of years, or your stateside. It'd be a ton of fun.
That would be a ton of fun, I think. I think you would be shocked by what you saw. But
I'll send you a clip of my match. I played 4 sets of doubles this morning. Gonna play another 4 tomorrow early as well. And there's a couple clips that I'm pretty pleased with. I think for folks that are not familiar, there's a great app called Swing Vision that I've used for 3 years now. And if you want to watch yourself play or record yourself playing, it cuts out the time between points. So you can watch all the points from your match in a reasonable amount of time rather than an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is. It tracks your makes, your misses, all that good stuff. And it gives you a lot of stats to help you better understand your own game. And one of the things that's really struck out to me is first serve make rate is the best indicator of whether I'm going to perform at the level I expect or not. If my first serve's not going in, everything else gets harder. And my win-loss record goes down significantly.
Yeah. First serve, key for everyone. Particularly key for these 2 players on the
Yes,
court.
indeed.
Sabalenka and Zheng, given their games they've got and how good their serves are. So far this set, 2-all, it's been very straightforward for both of them on serve. Which, is interesting. Well, which is probably why you're not hearing a lot of commentary from either of us, because it's kind of been straightforward. We've only had 2 or 3 competitive games so far this match.
Yeah, and the points are not particularly long. But it's consistent with both their games. We did have a really, really good one a game or 2 ago that Sabalenka won with a big forehand winner. Team Garbage posted earlier that Zheng seems more dialed in, not happy that she lost the first set. Nick, are you seeing that? Because it does to me seem like her holds are getting a little bit easier, a little bit less pressure on it.
I think she's just settled into the match.
Yeah.
A bit more now, and she's got herself into a bit of a rhythm. She did start a bit slower. And that ultimately cost her. I think maybe, but now we're seeing Zheng sort of warmed up and in full flow, and it's nice to see that when she's doing that, she is able to keep up with Aryna, and certainly giving her a little bit of hope that this match is not over.
Aryna with a really sloppy bad miss at 30 love on Zheng's serve there. Just I don't know what she was thinking with that backhand approach.
Do you just switching tack a little bit, right? We're talking about sort of the points being quite short so far. Do you anticipate any longer points for the match that's following this, Paulina Rybakina?
If the match goes according to plan for Paulini, I think perhaps yes. If the match goes according to plan for Rybakina, I think no. Rybakina I think likes to play fast as well. A little bit of the serve +1 style. I think if Paulini gets in there, I could see it. I don't think that's going to happen though. I think Rybakina, same deal, straight sets. I think it'll be 3 and 4 fast points under an hour and a half match.
Okay.
What's your read?
Are you? So that I was going to say. Actually, I was going to ask you. I think my read completely. I find it hard because I don't know which Rybakina is going to show up.
Right.
That's the thing. Are we going to get rusty Rybakina? In which case, she's going to be spraying the ball. She's not going to hold up against Paulini in rallies. Paulini's going to win it. If Rybakina is fresh, different story. And that's the thing. It's a long break from play has one of 2 effects on a pro: is rustiness or freshness.
Yeah.
And that's the critical thing. Rybakina probably isn't. Rybakina could be either she is good enough that she could be fresh, whereas I'd imagine that most players would be rusty.
Yeah.
So that's the factor, is that it's not possible to know.
So which Rybakina do you think we're going to get? If you had to put money on it, what are you going with?
On the odds, if I go with my head and just analyze trends, we'll probably get rusty Rybakina. But it is Rybakina. She does like to start. She does tend to start well after a break. So I think it's a longer break than she's had recently, even in her kind of disrupted season. So I guess Aryna is someone who could be fresh.
Yeah. I think we're going to go with
Aryna the person. I'm going to go with fresh.
I'm going to agree with you. I think that she's going to play free. I think getting the coaching situation resolved it's got to be such a weight lifted. She's going to be physically fresh, mentally in a good place. She's going to get the Ivanisevic bump. I think we're going to see fun Rybakina coming out there.
Well, we won't have Ivanisevic with her, but
That's the Ivanisevic bump. Doesn't even need to be there. Just having him in your corner on your team at future or present, it'll be enough to get it done. Very tasty drop shot coming up here from Zheng that you're going to see.
What a Ivanisevic.
Yeah. One thing I want to pitch you on. I believe the season is too long. I believe it's bad for the players, which I believe thus is bad for the fans because we see more and more folks break down, deal with injuries, deal with mental struggles, all kinds of things. My pitch for shortening the season is get rid of indoor season. Get rid of the indoor events. I think tennis is more fun for the viewer outside, more fun for the player outside, more variables. Get rid of indoor season.
So I agree with you. So I think that, yes, we expect a lot from the players. I don't necessarily think shortening the season is the answer. Here's why. Players prefer to have momentum and prefer to keep a certain level of match finish throughout. If you have too long a break, what kind of an impact does that have? I think players would still fill it with exhibitions.
That's interesting. So what if the solution was there were, two or three mini breaks? Yeah.
Yeah. So my solution is, rather than shorten the season, spread it out. Spread the season out more. So you've got more breaks in between. I think if I was to design a dream calendar, it would be like one big event a month.
I think though, to make the technique changes, you need a built-in longer break that some of them like to make. Ozan, by the way, had a good addition, which is that he wants to see challengers and ITF events continue in December, and that I agree. I think the challengers and ITF events, because you can make your own calendar quite a bit more on those than you can,
and you kind of need
majors and the 1000s. Like to keep, you got to pay bills, right? You need the prize money that comes with that. So I think I would be fine with the minor events being year round. I would like to see them tighten up the season a little bit. Nick, I think that your idea makes sense. There's not a wrong answer other than keeping the calendar as is.
Well, unless you talk to the WTA, who want the players to play 20 events a year.
Well, the WTA, respectfully, is a trash organization full of wonderful players, and they absolutely do wrong by the players over and over and over again. One thing we haven't talked about is where they're playing. They're in Riyadh. Several players have expressed discomfort because of Saudi Arabia's track record of human rights abuses, and specifically some of their policies towards women over the years. I think that's a reasonable concern for them to have. And I think while the WTA is about the money, they're not about the players. Tennis as a whole, and this is something I harp on every single time I'm on, is one of the most poorly administered sports in the world. Players see less of every dollar than in almost every other major sport. It's a travesty how poorly tennis is administered and how many redundancies there are, and how wrong they do the players.
Oh, Zheng poorly executes that volley at the net. Sabalenka gets away with that one, 40-15. Yeah, I would agree. The reason why I think tennis is like this is because they haven't figured out a way of balancing out, they don't. There's too many fingers in the pie, as it were. There's too many stakeholders.
Right.
There's loads of people with an interest in it, and that's kind of come from how tennis became a pro sport, right?
Right.
It was a really messy process. And now you have each individual Grand Slam needs to have a say. The players need to have a say. The tours want to have a say. The
ITF, the national foundations. Yeah, it's like there's so many redundancies.
There's so many people in there. There isn't like one body. A lot of the sports that are popular in the US, what are the advantages of the fact that things like the NFL, NBA, the baseball, whatever that one is, it escapes me off the top of my head. The NHL. Yep. That's the advantage of kind of based in America, is that you don't have all these international stakeholders.
Right.
Even if you look at sort of the biggest sport in the world, which is football, soccer, if you really want to be pedantic about it for the American.
Thank you for our American audience. Yes.
Sabalenka gets through the game with an unreturnable serve. 3-all. That's still got a unified governing body that kind of all the national associations kind of just have to go by what their rules are, even if there are times where they really don't like it and they can express that, and there's channels through which they can do that. Tennis, that doesn't exist. It's multiple people trying to thank you, Ozan, by the way. I completely agree. I don't like saying it, but I feel like I have to. Like, you've got multiple national associations and all these other events and organizations,
yes,
competing with each other, and that just doesn't work.
And not only are they competing with each other, they are siphoning off resources that should be going to the players, and they provide so little for them. What in basketball, in football, American and the real one, the players don't pay for their coaches. They don't pay for their medical care. They don't pay for their development, because there's minor leagues where they take care of those things, or there's the collegiate level in the States. The players in tennis are given so little, and they generate so much profit for all of these people. And I think that a thing that I see that drives me nuts is someone like, oh, well, this player made $6 million this year, like, real hard time. That's not the point. It's not the point. They are not being compensated appropriately. Also,
you're saying $6 million. That's $6 million guaranteed to you. They're not keeping even half of that.
Right. They're not. They've got to pay their coach. They've got to pay their nutritionist. They've got to pay for their travel. They don't. Yeah, they don't see nearly as much. They also, it's not guaranteed in football, in basketball, in hockey. Many of these contracts are guaranteed, or at least a portion of them is guaranteed. Players don't get appearance fees necessarily at the highest level, which is something that I think that should be revisited. There's so many different ways that players can be taken care of better by the tours. The fact that there's 2 tours at this point is ridiculous.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's down to money as well. I mean, ironically, the pro circuit back in the 60s was probably the best model for players, because they were contracted. Like, they were contracted, and sort of they had some guarantees in it. Now, we do have to caveat that a lot of these sports we're talking about here, they're all team sports. Whereas all these guys are operating as individual contractors. For the better comparisons, you want to be looking at sports like golf as the obvious one. That's the only other big individual sport out there that people are kind of on tour by. As Young's double faulted 30 all, big point coming up.
Huge. Decent rally here too.
Okay. But yeah, golf.
I'm trying not to give it away for you, Nick. This is a great point. Is all I'm
going to finish my point. Golf is the point of comparison. You may want to look at other racket sports like badminton and squash, maybe more badminton. There might be a few other Olympic sports where it's individualized. That's probably where you want to be looking at to see, well, how does their money trail work?
Yeah.
Now let's have a look at this point. Yeah, I'm loving this point.
With golf, it's so interesting, with the new tour. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, great for Zheng.
Great point. With the new tour, there's now a little bit of competition for the PGA and LPGA tour. The golfers are making more money than they ever have. There are multiple ways for them to make the money too, outside of just individual tournaments. I will say the tour is doing more. I think that Arthur Fields is the king of the 500. He got a little bonus for that. You get a bonus for the most points in Masters. But again, like, you look at the revenue they're generating and the percentages they're getting is a joke.
Oh yeah.
And then my last complaint is, like, while I think that the top 100 players are so shamefully underpaid for the revenue they're generating, there is so little done to develop these players that are trying to break through. The top 1,000 players. Do you know how much, like, if you're the 500 best football player in the world, American or the real one, you are making a guaranteed salary and an awful lot of money. If you're the 500th best tennis player in the world, hopefully you come from a country that has a national federation that compensates you and pays for things and helps, because if not, you are scrimping and saving to get by. You're probably giving lessons on the side. You might be doing cameo videos or whatever it is to just eke out a little bit of an extra living, and that's ridiculous. It's an unfair demand to put on these players. There's also great tennis players that none of us are ever going to hear about, that none of us are ever going to see, who would have been fun to watch, that just simply weren't able to break through because the infrastructure is so weak. And as you can tell, it drives me nuts. It pisses me off.
Well, that's because, and this is the moment where Zach laments that he could have been a pro.
Hey, I'm delusional, but I'm not that delusional. I think my absolute ceiling would have been low level, I don't know, Division II college player. I love pizza too much. It was never going to happen.
Yes. I think all the top players love pizza. It's just they know how to burn it off.
There's that great quote about Djokovic, though, that, after he won a major, he asked his wife to get like a Hershey's bar, and he allowed himself to have one square of the chocolate. And that's the level of commitment that it takes to be at that level.
Djokovic took that level of his commitment to a level beyond pretty much other pros.
Yeah. Hey, I think that your prediction is looking pretty spot on, that we might be cruising to a tiebreaker here.
Yeah. Zheng is asking for sort of Sabalenka to wait before serving. Looks like something's putting her off. Maybe it's the crowd moving around. Yeah.
Zheng's got a bit of a reputation on the tour as not particularly pleasant to deal with. Do you think that's earned, or do you think that's unfair?
I think she's just very blunt and very straightforward. She's not afraid to show when she's not happy with something. And I think she's always been like that. And I'm not surprised it rubs some people up the wrong way. So yeah, I think she's just very, very straightforward, and sort of what you see is what you get. As again, what we get there is an error on the backhand.
A forced error. Oh wait, no, we're watching different points.
Yeah, that's I don't hold it against her that she's like that. I don't. And like if players are like, oh, she's like this, so what? Really? I mean, there's plenty of players out there who haven't been the easiest to get along with.
Yeah. I have a soft spot for the head cases, but there's an important distinction between a head case and a jerk. Rublev is a head case, but I don't think that he's a jerk. He behaves poorly on the courts because he's melting down, and really what it's about is he's in a fight with himself, and I don't view that the same as lashing out at other people. Although, as I'm saying this, I'm like, well, he does do a little bit of that too, and maybe I'm just excusing it. I think you're right, more or less. With Zheng, she's direct, she's blunt. She's not going to play nice for the sake of playing nice, and I think that's more or less fine. I think that we should stop being so weird about folks that pro athletes that behave that way. She wants to win. What's wrong with that?
Yeah. I don't have it like. Yeah, it's not. It's not something I think you should. If you want to still root for her, despite it, go for it.
Yep. Not my cup of tea, but yes. Ozan, by the way, pointed out that only the top 100 eat. And the thing and I will shut up about this after this. What other sport at this level? I'm talking a big international sport: soccer, football, basketball, ice hockey. If you're not in the top 100 in that sport, are you having a hard time making a living? The 101st best football player is making so much money, like unimaginable amounts of money. The 101st best football player might very well be making more money than the 10th best tennis player. How could that be when the sports generate?
Again, we're comparing to team sports, where they are employed. It's not, you very quickly ran over the top 100 best football players if we're talking the proper football, because there's more than 10 elite clubs.
Right.
There's 11 players on the pitch. So
there we go.
Oh, great return from Zheng. She's coming back into this game.
She's keeping it interesting here.
Absolutely.
It does feel like Sabalenka's facing a touch more pressure on her serve in the second. Feels like Zheng is getting a few more easy games on hers. It's tightening up.
Yeah, the question is, how is it going to finish? Controversial question. Do we think this crowd really wants to be here, or do you think they've been paid to be here? As we heard might have happened during the Six Kings Slam.
So that's a great question. I think I would not rule it out. I don't know enough to have a strong opinion, but yeah, like, look, if any event that's sponsored by a sovereign wealth fund, they're working with a different budget than, say, the Winston-Salem Open, one of the tournaments near me, or the Cary Challenger. So they've got the money to pay for it. We'll see. Who knows?
Forehand from Zheng limply falls into the net, and Sabalenka makes this 4-all.
Nick, weigh in on it. What do you think? Are there paid attendees?
It's one of those things that I wouldn't rule it. After I heard about Six Kings, I was like, I would not rule that out being the case here. I guess if between Six Kings, if they got more days to fill it with, maybe there are people who are more willing to fly out to Saudi Arabia to watch this rather than the Six Kings.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably a few more genuine. There's at least some more chance of some genuine spectators in this crowd.
Yeah.
Certainly, it's one of those things that, like, if I was earning enough access to a decent pool of wealth, I've just seen that error from Zheng. That was really messy. Love 15. That's a couple of messy errors already.
If I was like a gazillionaire with the jet, yeah, sure. I'm sure I'd be there in the stands watching. But like short of that, like I'm not building a vacation around this to
Also, it's hot in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. That I can roll with. I enjoy the heat. I'm a sweater, elite cooling system, so I just get sweaty and stay cool.
Love 30, by the way. It's another error from Zheng. I think it was more of a forced error. I'll give her that.
This is a big moment. This is a big opportunity for Sabalenka, and this might be the last time to capitalize.
3 points that I've seen that Zheng has struggled with the trajectory of the ball. Let's see how she copes on this point. Ace.
Conspiracy theory Carter with the paid fans. I love
very rare that I'm very rare. It's very rare I will indulge in that speculation. I'm feeling mischievous today.
Let's get mischievous. Give us one more good tennis conspiracy theory.
Oh, good grief. Do you want one I actually believe or one I've heard?
Let's go with one of each. Let's really get into it. By the way, before we do, big couple points coming up here.
I think, this is more important than whatever conspiracy theories we've got, because that's a double fault to follow that ace. 15-40. All right, Zach, we're going to do the thing again. You'll have already seen what happens.
I'm not going to say it because I want to hear I want to hear the call. I got to hear the call. Give me the call.
Okay, guys, if you've seen this chat, if you've seen this already, this is my live reaction to be processing what we're seeing in this game as Zheng serves. Got Sabalenka back in play. Inside forehand from Zheng. Backhand cross-court Sabalenka. Zheng's pushed back by it. Loops the forehand up. Backhand Sabalenka. Somehow Zheng's finding the lines with it. That looked like it was on the line again from Zheng. Backhand to the Sabalenka forehand. Oh! Sabalenka's long. She overhit the forehand. Just missed it. 30-40.
How good is that? How good is that? I love the calls. I wish we got to get you in real time. Another call incoming because we got another big point coming up here.
We got a big call incoming. Hey, maybe if I upgrade my tech, maybe that's possible. All right, 30-40. Zheng now's got another break point to save. She's well to save that first one. Kept herself in the round. She's going to give Sabalenka a second serve because that first one hit the net. Tension rising in Riyadh. Here we go. Sabalenka dialing in. The Tigress about to pounce on this second serve. Here comes Qinwen. Second serve delivered out wide. Backhand Sabalenka cross court. Backhand up the middle from Zheng. Sabalenka takes control with the forehand. Oh my word, she finds the corner. What a shot from Sabalenka to break serve. She's going to serve for the match at 5-4.
That felt like a fitting break. I mean, Sabalenka just went Sabalenka mode there. In the chat, back to conspiracy theories. Now that we know, I don't want to say we know the outcome of this match because, of course, Zheng could break back here, but we know the outcome of this match. Prediction time. I'm trying to double up and get a 2-for-1 here since I already said Sabalenka was going to win. Ozon pointed out he believes that Yannick will not be suspended because Nike and the ATP will lose way too much money. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think that's international commerce, baby. I think that I totally agree. And if he does, it'll be like 6 weeks suspension that will end before the Australian Open kind of thing. There's too many people that stand to lose money. They talked about there's an American rapper named T.I. And there's a documentary where they talked about this. Like, listen, there's lawyers and judges and all these people making money. They're making too much money for anything bad to happen. Another great example of someone making too much money off somebody for bad things that happened until very recently, P. Diddy.
So, question. Because your all-round sports knowledge is probably better than mine. What is the highest profile drug suspension or drug ban in any sport?
Ever would be Lance Armstrong.
But he was at the end of his career, right?
Yeah, all the money had already been made, yeah.
Yeah, so
The highest profile non-suspension would probably be Andre Agassi when he tested positive for crystal meth, and came up with an excuse that he wrote later was untrue, and then they kind of let it slide. That's what's going to happen.
I guess. So first of all, does crystal meth actually enhance your performance?
No, but you're not supposed to take it. It's a big old no-no.
I wouldn't recommend anyone taking it.
That's actually, I would like to know which players at this tournament would perform the best while under the influence of various things. We should not do that. They're not going to do that. It's good that it's illegal. But I just out of curiosity, I'm like, I wonder who it would be. I don't know.
Sabalenka's gone wide with a backhand, by the way, love 15. It's going to be the classic closing out Sabalenka, getting a bit nervous towards the end.
That's a great question, though. Who is the highest profile suspension while they're in the prime of their career?
And they had to take time out of their career for it.
The closest that I can think of, and this is not a suspension, it's a very different thing. Muhammad Ali in his prime as a conscientious objector went to prison. Yeah. And so, that was a huge one. I mean, he lost like tens of millions of dollars over that choice. And it's why in my opinion, I think you have to respect it. Talk about commitment to your principles. Think about what he lost, what he sacrificed. But that wasn't a suspension. That was a very different thing.
It's a whole different thing. Yeah. No, this would be something where someone actually did something wrong. Whereas,
I mean, Mike Tyson went to prison for legitimate wrongdoing in the prime of his career as well. But again, not a suspension, very different thing. And it wasn't performance enhancing. It was, a horrific crime. I'm stumped on this one because we all know Lance Sabalenka looking very, very good here, cruising through this game.
Yeah. We all know Lance. I think that might answer your question about the Yannick Sinner thing as well.
Yannick,
if he was suspended, that would be the answer to that question going forward. 30-15 for me, although I think you already
Sharapova actually. Sharap, but again, like sort of tail end of the career.
Prime at that point.
Was she still prime Sharapova? Would you say
she was top 2, top 3 at that point?
She was top. I don't remember her being that high. Oh, well, yeah, that's a good comp then.
Yeah, definitely top 10. And she was in a slam final like the year before.
Let's see, Sharapova suspension. I'm pulling this up.
Yeah, 40. By the way, I have a match point. Sabalenka's about to close this match out, which is much more important in this conversation, even though I started it. Sabalenka way wide in that first serve. I think she's clearly nervous. She wants to try and get this match point over and done with. Second serve coming up for Aryna Sabalenka, and double faults. Double fault Aryna's here. Yeah, she's getting tight again. Zach.
The thing. Here we go.
Maybe we will
second match point here.
We'll get Zach's point on this one. The thing about it, and we'll talk about Sabalenka closing out, depending on how easily she finds this. 40-30. Sabalenka delivers out wide, takes the pace off, and Zheng overplays the return. Game, set, and match for Aryna Sabalenka, 6-3, 6-4. This is the match that we thought would happen. This is the match that she wanted. Great start to her WTA finals campaign, where she might finally, after maybe getting her heart broken a little bit the last couple of years, finally get her hands on that trophy.
Big win, great start to the tournament. I think this was I think what not only did we expect, I think was what most viewers expected. And I think it's exactly the start that she's looking for. Very good win. And again, obviously if you make this tournament, you're a good player, but a very good win against a very good player, had a good season. Made her first final in Australia. Won the Olympics. It's a big win. Sabalenka, take Sabalenka. If you're gonna bet on Sabalenka versus the field. This is her tournament to lose. Doesn't mean that she's gonna win it, but that's your best bet.
Looking like it anyway. I think it'd be interesting to see how. I think her group stage progression is going to depend a lot, and it's going to depend on the question we talked about a little bit earlier. Whether Rebecca is rusty or fresh. If Rebecca is rusty, Sabalenka's winning that match. If she's fresh, watch out, Aryna.
Back to Sharapova now. So she was suspended in 2016. She was 29. So she might have been at the very tail end of her prime, but when you look at the kind of the median WTA career, she was certainly on the back end of it. She had not won a major in 2 years. And so the difference to me between Sharapova's suspension is, yeah, they may have taken the end of her career away from her. And that's a shame. But Sinner, he's not even in his prime yet. He's a year or two away from, 24 to 27 historically has been players' primes. With modern medical improvements, we're seeing that prime extended out to the late 20s or early 30s. But the norm was not playing well into your 30s at all, even as recently until the big three really kind of changed the game. So it's even more money is going to get lost on Sinner than was lost on Sharapova being suspended. I think this is I don't think this is a conspiracy there. I think this is just commerce.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed, I've just seen the replay of it. Zheng didn't realize the match was over. She went out of habit to get tiled off and ready for the next point, and then saw Sabalenka hands and went, "Oh, sorry."
That's a pretty big. I mean, I guess she wasn't playing with pressure then, not knowing that the match was at match point.
Yeah, she was just in the zone still, which. Okay, so let's talk about Zheng's prospect actually. So, like, Sabalenka, we're hyped. We're ready. She's the favorite to get through this group, maybe even favorite for the title.
Yep.
What about Zheng? How much does this? How much would you say that? I think she's going to get too hurt by this because she knows she's got a matchup issue with Sabalenka. It puts the pressure on for her next 2 matches. How confident are you about seeing her potentially being the one coming out?
Remind me, who's her next match against?
Well, we don't know. It's going to be the loser of Rybakina or Paolini.
I mean, I think if she gets off Rybakina, she's got a shot. And I think she's got a shot against Paolini as well. But I don't think that she's got a realistic chance to win this thing. Maybe she gets a winner too. Great. Make a little bit more money. But I think her prospects of winning this tournament are 0 in my mind.
Okay.
Typical nuance of perspective.
I wasn't talking about winning the tournament.
Yeah. I think I would put my money on Rybakina first, Paolini second, and then I would put her third. The reason being, like, she's the only person in the group with a loss. Statistically, she should have the worst chance to get through at this point. She's now at a disadvantage. Either Paolini or Rybakina will be at a disadvantage after today, but we don't know which one it is yet. And so she's at the bottom of the chart. She's got the biggest disadvantage, and I just don't know that I like her matchup with the other folks in this group.
Not even Paolini.
Maybe. I mean, the thing is, if Paolini gets the confidence that comes to win against Rybakina, even if Rybakina is off, you want the player with the hot hand.
Yeah, I mean, look, her next match would be the loser of that match. So if she's playing Paolini, if she plays Paolini in the next match, it's going to be one of them.
Oh, that's right. So if it's Paolini coming off a loss to Rybakina, I could see it, but I still got Paolini. What
about Rybakina coming off a loss to Paolini?
I don't think that Zheng beats Rybakina on the surface. I think that, like, just enjoy tennis. You don't want to be a stan. I'm a bit of a Rybakina stan, though. I think I have this soft spot for even Isevic, and so I just like her chances.
This could be very interesting if we ever did Iga versus Aryna, because we will be like in full rivals.
Look at these stats, by the way. So Sabalenka made 61% of her first serves, and she won 94% of the points on her first. Zheng made 51%, low 80s in terms of her win percentage. If she can pump that first serve up to the high 50s, low 60s percentage-wise, that makes her life a lot easier. Want to go over to Ozon really quickly if I prefer the ad or the do side. If I'm playing a righty in doubles, I prefer the do side, and everything else, I prefer the ad. Nick, do you have a side of preference?
I don't play doubles that much. I played doubles for the first time in years, about a month ago.
Yeah.
It was like a fun little doubles tournament where it was like a team of 10 versus a team of 10. And you constantly swapped partners and opponents.
So
I just switched which side I was depending on my partner's preference.
So here's why we need Rybakina to win. I think that Sabalenka Rybakina, compelling matchup, very much want to see it. I think Zheng and Paolini, also a matchup that I very much want to see, because I'm so convinced that Rybakina would roll Zheng.
You're going to get them anyway, because
but I want it sooner. I want it now, Nick. I want it now.
You want it on Monday. You don't want it on Wednesday.
I don't want it on Wednesday. I want it faster. Very American to be now. I want it. I don't want to wait.
He's now quoting One Republic lyrics.
I am the culture. I've gotten old. The culture surpassed me. I'm not familiar.
Okay, to be honest, it's only because I like the band that I'm aware of it. It's not it's not their best work. To be
If we're
honest,
talking bands, by the way, and we're talking transcontinental bands, I have tickets to see Oasis not once but twice in their stateside tour. Here's the thing,
stop showing off how
very.
fat your wallet is, Zach.
Say again.
Stop showing off how fat your wallet is, Zach.
It's a lot cheaper here than it is there to see them. They're not as big in the States. I am very, very nervous that they will not make it to this leg of the tour because, there's a bit of a history. And also the American leg always goes off the rails whenever Oasis comes here.
Which kind of acrimonious tennis rivalry would you pay to buy tickets for to reignite?
Oh, wow. Huh. That's a great question. That's such a good question.
A little bit of beef between the two of them.
Jimmy Connors and McEnroe did not like each other, and I don't know that it'd be particularly fun to watch them today. But I think I would. Say again.
I don't think I think it was Connors versus the world. To be honest,
it was kind of like they both kind of hated the world, and the world kind of hated both of them. Like have you seen the McEnroe, the British tabloids when McEnroe was trying to break through and beat Borg at Wimbledon? The things that they said about him looking back are hilarious. Connors, for whatever reason, in the States, people seem to like him because I think he's a blue collar guy. He's a grinder. Like he's got a great personal story, but he was a jerk. So I think I'd watch a Legends match between Connors and McEnroe. What about you?
I think you've got to go. Yeah, that one's got to be up there. As a WTA guy, Serena Sharapova, but they seem to have patched things up. And then they get on with each other. Naomi Brody and Yelena Ostapenko would be hilarious.
Oh, I think I'd like to see a match between Navratilova and Everett today. The thing is,
they actually get on with it. They were friends at the time as well.
Can we get them to get in a fight over something? Because that would be fun. Let's see. Did Graf have anyone that she really didn't care for?
Graf was quite easygoing. I don't think she was that open about it. Like her and Selesh got on.
Yeah.
They're both fairly easygoing personalities. Look, if you want to really kind of get the people out who could probably barely move, Court and King.
Yeah.
There would be some stuff there.
You know what? I think that we might be able to commentate for that because I don't think many people will be watching. I would watch it though. Let's see.
There would be. It's although having said that, it would not be a much of a spectacle. No offense to them. 40 years ago, best athletes of their generation.
Yeah.
Age catch up with everyone. I remember hearing a story about Ken Rosewall when I was listening to Australian Open commentary, and he's just turned 90 today, actually.
Wow.
But so this would be about 12 years ago when he was in his late 70s. So it must have been the 2012 Australian Open. And one of the aging Australian commentators were, Ken still hits the ball at 78 as hard as he did when he was playing.
Come on.
He just can't move.
There was an American baseball player that I think it might have been Nolan Ryan that was like, I can still throw 90 once if you need me to. I just won't be able to comb my hair the next day.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of that. Yeah. Let's see. Sampras and Agassi at various points, they didn't particularly care for each other. I think, a lot of these guys, once they retire though, there's a mutual respect there. So yeah, I think I'd watch that one. Did Hewitt and Roddick ever get into it? I think they were cool, more or less, too, right?
Yeah, I don't remember there being any stories about that. I'm seeing some fun ideas from Ozan and I think Murray and Del Potro like each other.
Yeah.
Sharapova Bouchard would be hilarious.
Yeah.
There's some actual
stuff there. Here's one for you. Dinara Safina versus Serena.
Yes.
The video of Serena clowning her about being number 2 in the world after winning 3 majors. That is so funny and so mean. I don't know that you bounce back from that.
Well, no, she didn't, did she? Because she kind of injury related.
Poor Dinara Safina. Marat Safin, her brother, is in the Duma in Russia, which I think is an interesting thing.
Yes, I did hear about that. Do you know what? Marat Safin against pretty much anyone was.
That's you know me, like that's a guy I had a soft spot for because he was as big of a head case as you get. There's, I mean, when he demolished rackets. He didn't break them. Break them does not do justice to what he did to those. Back to Sabalenka Zheng. Sabalenka didn't demolish Zheng, but was it really ever in question?
Not really, no. I think Zheng did her best to try and keep up, but the minute Zheng's level dropped, Sabalenka was all over her, and that was the thing. So there wasn't much hope for it to be much more competitive. So I think it's about what we'd expect. So I guess Sabalenka, and we've done a bit of analysis on it. I think we've had a good time with it, Zach. I think this has been mainly tangents, but hopefully everyone who was watching was enjoying the tangents. And we did give you some match analysis in between. So
forgive me, Nick. I'm a tangent machine. What can I say?
I've noticed this from the 2 times I've been on with you. But hey, I'm excited to see what happens when we get a better match, a more competitive match.
Is this next one gonna be?
Paulini Rybakina? It's got potential, depending on how rusty Rybakina is.
I think that with Sabalenka, it felt like there was not certainty, but there was a very likely outcome. The range of outcomes that we might see up next, I think, are going to be much more interesting. And also, let's say Rybakina gets off to a slow start, doesn't mean that she's going to stay that way. Because you're right, there are 2 Rybakinas that we might see. There's a world in which we see both of them, and I think that could make for some really, really compelling tennis.
Well, you can enjoy that. You can enjoy that match with Damien, with Vanch, and with Andre, and they'll be following us. Not on this stream. You'll have to go and get yourself over to another YouTube stream, which will be starting up, so we can cover the match. But yeah, go and enjoy that match with the amazing trio that is those guys. Zach, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you keeping me company and enjoying the start of the WTA finals with you.
Nick, it's such a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on. John, thanks for having me on as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, hey, if you're watching at this point, you probably already have followed or subscribed. Reach out to a friend who would enjoy the feed. Get them to subscribe and follow. This is a great channel. What John's doing here is really, really cool. It's such a pleasure to be a part of it. And if you enjoy it, pass the word around. Let people know.
We're at 10K. We're almost at 11K. Let's get even. We want to have more of you on for the journey, and we'll bring you more from the inside of the world of tennis if we can. And we will continue, as always, to keep talking tennis.
Shout out to my guy Ozon. Later.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.